Good evening. So excited to be here. I have had an amazing day today with lots of things happening that I'm still like, oh my goodness. But more to come on that later. For now, I had the pleasure today of being interviewed by Laurel Elian, and it was great. And so I want to share with you here some of what we talked about. The topic was law of attraction and self awareness. And for me, self awareness is key in manifesting anything that we want because we need to know where we're starting from. Like, where are we in this moment? What's going on with us? How are we feeling? What are our thoughts? What are our beliefs? What are our judgments? What are our biases? How do we see the world? All of that is the place to start from where you are now to where you want to go. And it's just like the GPS. Like, it's really important to have a vision of your future and know exactly what you want to accomplish. But in order to get there, you need to know where you're starting from. And from a law of attraction perspective, it's all about focusing our energy and our vibration, like our attention on what it is that we want to accomplish. But a lot of times that journey takes twists and turns, and there's a lot of internal stuff that gets in the way. I mean, I'm sure as a business person or entrepreneur that when you are confronting an area of your business or leveling up in terms of your career, that there's this underlying these beliefs or these emotions that kind of come up. And so it's so important to have a sense of what those mean and where they come from. And for most of us, that is being able to understand what our belief system is, how we look at the world. Because a lot of times when we are triggered by the world, those come up for us. Self awareness is about having a really good understanding of who you are and what are those things that are happening within you that need to change. Because, if you have big goals and you want to achieve certain things in your life, then it's really like who you're going to become in order to achieve that is different than who you are. And so that process of change is can be a difficult one. And mostly because up until this moment, for most people, we've been on autopilot and we've just kind of done what we've always done. And here we are finally becoming a little bit more woke, they say, where we get to decide. Like, we have this sense of knowing that we get to create our life and we're in charge of our life and how do we want our life to be. And so using law of attraction is all about creating that vision for your future, but then checking in to where you are in terms of those things that we talked about to see what is serving you and what is not serving you. And some of the things that is about self-reflecting, because self-reflecting is really how you become self-aware, and that is about taking the time to take a real look at yourself, looking at what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. And, are you comfortable experiencing all of your emotions? And what's your style of communication and all of those intricacies? And what do you need for that? You need to be mindful in each moment about what it is that you're doing. Hey, Kelly, thanks so much for joining. So the whole thing for one of the whole things as it relates to law of attraction is, you want to feed what makes you feel good and is working for you, and then you want to starve what's not. And so part of that process of starving what's not is really the idea that you recognize it, but you don't feed into it. And for so many of us, when we are in fear, when we're in anxiety, when we have worry, like, it just takes a hold of us and energetically it builds momentum. And all of a sudden you're in this deep hole where more and more thoughts like that come. What I do with my clients is to help them sort of pinpoint, again, from an awareness standpoint, if you know yourself, you can start recognizing when your energy shifts from feeling good and being in that high vibration to, ooh, like I'm starting to have some thoughts that, or I'm not feeling right. And in that moment, you can take a breath and really think about, okay, where's that coming from? What's going on? Do I want to feel that? And start thinking about what's the next best feeling thought that you can have. Because in those moments, you can shift your energy. It's when you're deep in it that it's much, much harder to shift that energy. And so, a big part of that is making a commitment to yourself. Like, what do I want? And it starts with you because one of the things that I've always heard is that we are our biggest obstacle in terms of getting to where we want to go. We're it. And so, what I do with working in my clients is you get to decide in every moment whether you're moving forward or you're moving away. And if you're moving away, let's figure out what that's about and shift it so that you can manage your energy in a way that you're constantly moving forward, even when you're hit with a challenge, even when, those moments come that are hard, because, you'll hear me say this a lot. We're spiritual beings on a human experience, right? Spiritual beings having a human experience. And that human experience, ooh, tricky, exciting, so full of adventure and wonderful, but we don't know what's around the next turn. And we're always trusting. And again, when we have self awareness and we are tuned into ourselves, then we can manage that in a much more positive way. So, my question to you is, what are some of the things that you do to be self aware? I can tell you that for me, it's trying to be present moment. It's practicing mindfulness, and maybe tomorrow we'll talk a little bit about what it means to be mindful. Um, but for today, it's taking the time to be introspective, asking yourself questions about everything that you are experiencing in your life that either makes you feel really good or moves you in the direction of more negative kinds of emotions. Like, what's that about? What does that trigger in me? How do I feel about it? And then thinking about, well, what could be different? Like, how could you look at that situation differently? Because I think one of the most empowering things for me about the work I do is that we get to choose. We get to choose what we believe. The only reason that you have the beliefs that you have in this moment is because that's how you were raised. That's what you picked up when you were young. And you don't have to keep those. And for a lot of people, they just think, well, that's how it's always been. That's how I've always thought. That's just who I am. Well, no, it's not who you are. Who you are is consciousness. Everything from that moment on is stuff that's put on us that we agreed to carry, but it could be different. And so I am going to encourage you and hopefully inspire you to think about how you can think differently to have a different outcome. So that is my life for tonight. And tomorrow, going to do it a little earlier. My schedule is all over the place, so I'm going to fit it in when I can. And that's just how it's going to work. I do appreciate any comments. Please drop me a line if you're doing this live or replay. What did you get from this? What made sense for you? What triggered or resonated with you? I'd love to know. Thank you so much, and you guys have a great night.